We spend so much of our time focusing on our jobs and our careers that when we feel ourselves sliding into a slump, it can feel so defeating. You're losing motivation, you're losing control, you're losing your spark and your creativity, and nothing feels worse. I know this feeling all too well, balancing all of the things that I'm doing in life right now. My master's, working full time, hosting this podcast, the other side projects I have going on, and just trying to operate like a human and my relationships, balancing all of those with everything I have going on. Sliding into a slump is something I am very familiar with because it happens to me every once in a while, and it's probably happening to you right now. And that is why you clicked on this episode of To Be Known. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of To Be Known. If you're new here, my name is Makayla Morman, and I am your go-to girl when it comes to anything personal development related in your 20s. If you're older, if you're younger, I do not care. I am just happy that you are here. And today we are focusing on a topic that is very familiar to me. This idea of burnout and thinking about what our career is actually supposed to feel like in our 20s, and when we are hitting a slump, what that means for us in our lives and what we can do about it. Because what I know about you right now, that you clicked on this video, you're probably feeling a panic that whatever you're doing in life is not right. You're panicked at the fact that maybe you're sliding into a slump and you don't know what to do about it. I'm here for you today. There is an unmistakable panic that happens when we feel like we are falling behind in our 20s. And I'm using air quotes here at this idea of falling behind because our careers feel so cutthroat. Everything in our life feels so cutthroat, like it's life or death of whether or not we are going to succeed in our lives. Because if we don't have ourselves figured out right now when it comes to our career, when it comes to life, ourselves, our relationships, we feel like we're setting ourselves up for failure. And if you are entering a slump right now, that does not mean that everything in your life is going to go wrong. It is 100% completely normal for you to slide into a slump in life. Our 20s are quite possibly the most important period of our lives for shaping our identity. What we do over this course of 10 years as we try to figure out how to be an adult sets us up for the rest of our lives. Yet, we feel so lost in ourselves and in the world and our careers and our love life and our relationships and our friendships. It can all feel so daunting. But I think that this decade of our lives is supposed to challenge us, especially our careers. Feeling like you don't truly know what you want to do is such a normal part of being in your 20s, especially for me and my lived experience when I was in my younger 20s. I job hopped so much. I think I had like 7 different jobs in my early 20s from the time that I was like 20 to 24. I tried out 7 different jobs. I industry hopped. I tried everything that I needed to in order to get to this place where I feel secure in my career with where it is at right now. However, careers aren't what they used to be like back in the day. We are not living in an age where things are very linear, where you get out of college and you're pretty much assured that you are going to be able to get a job out of college. That is not how the market is nowadays. So when you are thinking about career and you're thinking about your job and you're thinking about where you spend your time, it feels so cutthroat because it is. With this concept in mind that career paths are no longer as linear as they once were, now more than ever, it is so important for you to experiment with your work when you are in your 20s, when you don't have anything to tie you down, like kids, like a house, like a marriage. This is the time in your life for you to experiment. So when you were thinking of your slump, when you were thinking about your careers and you were thinking about what this means for you and what your career is actually supposed to look like, this is the decade that is supposed to be challenging, that's supposed to stretch you thin and make you understand what you like and what you don't like when it does come to your job and how you want to spend your time. It is so normal for us to come out of college for the first couple of years wondering exactly what it is that we want to do with our lives. It is so normal for you to feel lost when it does come to jobs and your career because the job market is not favorable right now. It is hard to get a job, and it is even harder to find a job that actually aligns with what you want out of life and what you want out of your career. This honestly makes things feel so chaotic because you can be balancing multiple jobs at once just to have a roof over your head and things on your resume so that you can get experience to get the job that you actually want. Or maybe you're working a job right now that does not align with what you actually want out of life, but you need money to put a roof over your head and to have something on your resume. There are so many things that we all do at the expense of our future that are detrimental to our present. And that is why you are hitting a slump. I'm not going to say that your work isn't important and that you need to quit your job because of this slump. That's not what I'm going to be talking about today, because truth is, you probably need your job unless you actually have like a 3-month, supply of savings in your bank account for you to get by until you find another job. However, that's not the case for a lot of people, of being able to have a cushion for you to go back and rely on so that you can take a leap into something else. When you are in a slump and you have a job that doesn't align with you, or you're balancing a million things and you're feeling like you're sliding into a slump, what this tells you is something about yourself and where you are at currently. In our 20s, our careers are really meant to humble us and to stretch us in ways that we never anticipated. It is supposed to feel like it is a challenge because it is. We are brand new into being people that have a 9 to 5 job. Of course, it's going to teach us a lesson. Of course, it's going to stretch us thin because we have never done this before. That is why a slump can feel like it is going to completely derail your life, because you know how hard it is to create a career nowadays. You know how hard it is to find work that actually aligns with your life. And you know how formative this decade is for you and the rest of your life. But I want you to know that your mind is lying to you when it says that one slump, one mistake is completely going to derail the rest of your life. It's just not the truth. This thinking, when it comes to having a slump in your career in your 20s, is a scarcity mindset through and through. It is your brain lying to you because it is feeling fear and it wants to keep you safe. It is telling you that if you are not constantly growing, that means that you are regressing. And honestly, that is just not the truth. The truth is that we build our lives in seasons. You have seasons where you are high productivity, high creativity, and then you have your off seasons. You have your periods of time where you need to sit back, rest, relax, look inwards, and understand where it is that you're at now and where you want to be. There are times in our life where we are more focused on output than we are input, and vice versa. And when you are in a slump era, that just means that you are more focused on your input and what you need from yourself right now. You cannot have one season of productivity without a season of rest. When we are in this phase where we need to focus on ourselves, where we are reevaluating where we are at in our careers or our jobs and just thinking about the future, it does not mean that it is the end of the world. And I feel like there's a huge identity crisis that happens here when we are sliding into a slump because we don't know what it means for ourselves. When we slip into a slump era, it honestly gives us a period of stillness that we just need. This happens for a reason. It is your body, your mind telling you information that where you are at currently in your life, something is wrong. Something is wrong internally, and you need to readjust and to give yourself space to think, to feel, to create something better for yourself. Because if you never let yourself actually go into the slip and evaluate your life and to have a moment of stillness where you let yourself reconsider where it is that you're at in your career, then you can make the best next step for you. Because remember, when you are in your 20s, your career is supposed to challenge you. It is supposed to stretch you thin. It is supposed to humble you. It is supposed to make you question what you actually want for yourself. When you feel yourself slip into a slump, that means that something is wrong and you need to reevaluate, reassess, and maybe change something about your life. All that I'm trying to tell you is that it is completely normal for you to have a career slump, even though It feels like it is completely out of your control. This happens for a reason. It is just time for you to learn a lesson about who you are, what you want your future to look like in your life, and where you are currently lacking. You gotta just meet yourself with where you're at. A career slump signals to you that you just might be exhausted. Maybe you are at the brink of burnout because you work so hard. Maybe you work 40 plus hours a week and your body, your mind just needs you to relax. It needs you to take a step back and to just let yourself be who you are without feeling like you have to be productive all of the time. Maybe this career slump is signaling to you that something within you has shifted. Maybe it's about how you see yourself or how you see success or what actually feels aligned for you in your life when it does come to how you spend your time and your career. Maybe your career itself has shifted and you're just kind of facing the fallout of that shift. Whatever it is that's going on when it does come to bringing up this slump in your life, it needs to be identified in order for any understanding and like real breakthrough to happen, because what you need in this slump is a breakthrough. And that's what happens when you give yourself a period of stillness. When you look within instead of focusing on your output all of the time, you're actually able to see what it is that you actually need in order for you to move forward. Because when you're in a slump, when you feel yourself being pulled back within yourself and you're needing to take a break and you're needing to take some time, that means that you just need a cocoon. You just need to take care of yourself so that you can then step out and launch forward. When we are experiencing a career slump, it is all about a misalignment. Maybe it's a misalignment in the actual job itself, or maybe it is a misalignment in the effort that you are giving. Maybe it's about how much energy you're putting into the job or the amount of emotion that you are feeling when you do work. Or maybe the meaning of what your career has actually changed for you and like what you are doing right now is not aligned with what you actually want for yourself and for your life. Most of our time and our days are spent working. So if we are in a job that does not align with us in some way, either in a minor way or a major way, of course we are going to feel like we are going to detach from it. Of course we are going to feel like we are detached from our lives because so much of our time is spent on a job or a career that just doesn't feel quite right to us anymore. That is why it is so important to have enjoyment in what you do. Maybe you absolutely love your job and you're one of the lucky ones that actually truly loves every single thing that you do at your job. However, that is not how most people are. Most people have like a range of 50 to 80% enjoyment of what it is that they actually do. However, if you're below that 50% range, if you barely enjoy your job, then you really have to consider, is this job actually worth my time? Because maybe the reason why you're having this slump is because you genuinely dislike the thing that you are doing in your job, your career or your part-time job or whatever it is that you are doing with your time to make some money, to put yourself forward when it does come to your career and your future. If you don't enjoy it, don't waste your time doing it. I understand that that might be a privileged take on careers and making sure that you are doing something that you actually enjoy, because sometimes people just have to work for the paycheck. But I would hope that whatever job you have, even if it is working a minimum wage job, that you at least enjoy the people that you work with. Because I feel like people and the community that you could find in a career is very telling as to how much enjoyment and fulfillment that you are going to have out of it. If you don't like your career and you don't like your coworkers, then chances are you are going to slide into a slump and really not like your life or your career or your job at all, because you don't have a community to bond over it with. So even if you don't like your job, if you have people who are around that make the work feel more fulfilling than what you would like for yourself in your career, at least you have that. That is a pasture, a greener pasture to look at in comparison to like the job itself being bad. If you were in the position where you are able to switch jobs to something that you actually like more, take a chance, take a risk, let yourself have another shot at what your career can actually look like. And look at jobs. On the flip side, maybe you are someone who has put too much meaning into their job, where your life is your work. If you look to your job, to your output to find meaning, the unfortunate truth is that it is never going to give you meaning. When you give your career so much power over how you identify what success looks like for you, over how you identify your worth, it will inevitably leave you to sliding into a slump because that is just not going to fulfill you in the way that you want it to. You should not put your life's meaning and purpose and your self-worth into a job, into your career. And I know that I have been guilty of this, where I have aligned so much of what I thought like success looks like, so much of what I think like my worth looks like into my output. I thought that I had to be a person who just gives and pushes and impresses and has a very high output and is very productive in order for me to be worthy, in order for my life to actually have meaning. However, that just doesn't work. It doesn't actually lead to a fulfilling life. It doesn't actually lead to what you want it to. And I know that from personal experience. So do not attach too much meaning to your life's work because that is not what we're here for. When you give your work that much power over how you feel about yourself, it is inevitably going to lead you to slide into a slump because it will never give you the fulfillment that you actually are looking for. When I made this mistake of attaching too much of my identity to my job, I had to really take a step back and ask myself this question of, if I wasn't producing, if I wasn't trying to advance in my career, what does that mean for my worth? If I am not producing, who am I? When we attach too much of our identity into our careers, it can be a very shocking breakthrough when we are in our 20s, when we are trying to figure out our careers and what they mean for us and what we actually want for ourselves, because you can get lost in your career and thinking that that is the main thing that you have to focus on in this decade of your life. If you weren't producing, if you had to slow down, if you had to take a break, you realize that it makes you feel like you are lesser than. It makes you realize how much of your value you put onto being productive and producing and just accelerating your life and your career. A slump hits you hard when you tie your identity to being capable. I really hope that the beginning of this episode set the tone as to why this slump is happening in your lives and what your career is actually supposed to feel like and how this all relates to your identity. Because when you want to pull yourself out of this slump, what you need to realize is that A, this is normal for you to experience, and B, you just need to choose momentum. You just need to choose to go back, to look within, and to reevaluate what you actually want in your life and to take baby steps forward instead of trying to make these great, grand, big leaps in your life. We are just trying to figure it out day by day. And our careers are supposed to stretch us. They are supposed to humble us. They are supposed to teach us about ourselves and what we actually want and what we don't want out of our lives. The number one way that you can get back to yourself, that you can get back to this feeling of normalcy in your life and pull yourself out of your slump is making sure that you are going back to what is important for you. To make sure that you are taking baby steps every day to make a little bit of progress, to maintain that same enthusiasm that you once started with. You have time to start over. You have time to try something new. You have time to reevaluate what it is that you actually want in your life. Go back to where you started. Go back to the dream that you have in your life. When you look at your work, make sure that you are not overwhelming yourself. Reduce the scope of your work as much as you can and focus on your dream. Make sure that you are auditing your inputs, that you are creating a life for yourself more than you are being consumed by it, because that affects how you feel. The more and more that you scroll when you are off looking at the other lives that people have, the more it makes you feel like trash about your own. So stop scrolling and start creating your life. If you really need some help, chances are your friends are going through the same exact thing that you are, because all of us in our 20s are struggling with our careers. We're struggling with these feelings because our careers can feel so cutthroat that when we slide into a slump, it just feels so lonely and so isolating. But chances are your friends are either going through it right now or they have in the past, and maybe you guys can figure it out together. Maybe they have some advice that they could give you. Maybe you can help them and you guys can have some conversation and just come to realizations about what you actually want in life and how you can get there together. With all of this being said, I just want you to know that it is okay for you to have off seasons in life, because this is typically when you learn the most about yourself and what you actually want out of life. When you are thinking about the rest of your days, your career is very important, but this decade in our 20s is where we are able to experiment the most. So if you are able to try something new, try out a new job, try out a new career, or just create a passion project, create a side hobby for you that can help you with your career. Find something that inspires you. And do not judge yourself for wanting to change or for trying anything it is that you want to do. Go back to your childhood dream. Go back to your inner wanting, your desires of what you actually want out of life, and see how that aligns with your current reality, or maybe where it's not. And try to see how you can fill in that lack, fill in that gap, and hopefully that can help you get out of this slump. Our careers are really supposed to humble us in our 20s, because we are just little teeny tiny toddler adults running around trying to figure it out, because we're all doing this for the first time. And it is okay that you are in a slump. I just want you to know that today. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I had so much fun talking about this because I am so career focused, and I have definitely gone into a slump or two or three in the past when it does come to my career. And this topic is really near and dear to my heart. It was also a recommendation for someone wanting to hear more about this topic. And so thank you to that listener who shared that idea with me. I hope that I helped you in some way. If you liked today's video, please give this video a thumbs up. If you're watching on YouTube, hit subscribe. If you are listening on Spotify, please give this podcast a 5-star review. Follow on there as well. And if you really want to follow along the To Be Known journey, please follow on Instagram and TikTok at To Be Known Pod. The links will always be in the show notes down below. If you made it to this point in the episode, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. I hope that you have a beautiful rest of your day, and please comment a takeaway that you had from this video. Okay, stay true to you. Bye.